Hello, I'm Jarosław Kraszewski and you're watching TVP World Talks, where every word matters. Ukraine has found itself under massive attack from Russia yet again, being forced to repel Russian missiles and drones using a variety of means, including the use of F-16 fighter jets. Meanwhile, there has also been news that Ukraine has urged its allies to deliver the Patriot missile systems, which wouldn't be anything new except that these systems were already promised a while ago. So Ukraine essentially wants its allies to fulfill an earlier promise. Is this going to work, and will finally Ukraine be able to repel the Russian attacks on a consistent basis? We're going to ask our guests today. So in the studio we've got Colonel Wojcik, a former army attaché at the US Embassy in Warsaw, and we're also joined via Skype by General Jarosław Kraszewski, former Armed Forces Supervision Department Director at the Polish National Security Bureau. So hello and welcome to TVP World.
Great to be here.
And hello.
So before we move on to the Patriots, Colonel Wojcik, a quick comment on the downing of the F-16 fighter jet in Ukraine.
Well, it sounds like a very sad story, number one, because it looks like the pilot may not have been able to eject from the aircraft. So that's number one. Number two, there's only a handful of F-16s in Ukrainian hands, as we understand it now. And so every F-16 is very, very important. But at the same time, we're at war. And so the expectation that there's going to be attacks or combat where an F-16 might get shot down or might have a situation where the pilot loses control of the aircraft is possible. Does this indicate that there's a challenge with training and it was too fast? Because that's some of the speculation. There's a lot of speculation right now as to what happened. But I think it's a tragic situation for the pilot and his family, but it also doesn't indicate that there's a major problem in the program, because expectation is that sometimes aircraft are going to crash. But at the same time, they need to review this, figure out what's wrong, and it does indicate something to me that the F-16 program should have started much earlier.
And General Kraszewski, your comment on the matter.
First of all, many greetings to Ray. We've been friends for ages, and it's not possible to get together in person in Warsaw, so we are in your TV stations together. You know, it's a tragic situation, as Ray has said, but it's a crucial tool for Ukrainians, first of all, to conduct the deep strikes and to do the reconnaissance missions in order to get the actual and accurate information in real time. It's mandatory to analyze the case where the pilot lost his life, and it's a catastrophe for the family. But it's important for the future training activities of Ukrainian pilots. It's very difficult to fight, to operate with such an advanced combat jet in the situation where and when you have a lot of missiles and rockets flying over. And pilots need to have a lot of experience in combat missions. Hopefully that's going to be the first and the last accident with the F-16 in Ukraine during the combat missions. But again, in my opinion, the Ukrainians, especially the Air Force authorities, they have to analyze very carefully the case and they immediately implement some changes in the training programs.
And of course, the loss of the pilot Alexei Mess, codename Moonfish. This is a great tragedy. He was also an advocate for the Ukrainian cause. I think he was on CNN at one point, explaining why Ukraine needs the F-16s. So hopefully, further Ukrainian victories will be a lasting tribute to his memory. Now, we're moving on to the Patriot systems. Colonel Wojcik, why do you think we're experiencing this delay? If Ukraine had the Patriots, it might actually not have been forced to use F-16s to repel a missile attack, of all things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely potentially part of the problem. The F-16 is, initially is probably going to be employed mostly in an air defense role because of the gaps in air defense. and the continued pressure from the Russians on multiple fronts. So, and then we look at the missile attack on the 26th, the largest missile drone attack since the beginning of the war. You can see how easy it might be at some point if the Patriots and other air defense systems are not both replenished and expanded, as you're kind of alluding to. So President Biden recently acknowledged, there's a problem with air defense and said we will prioritize first air defense systems coming online to go to Ukraine. So those are U.S. systems, but there were other commitments, or have been recent other commitments from other nations in Europe that we call Patriot partners. They operate Patriot systems.
So far, it has mostly been Germany that has been delivering these systems.
Yes.
Other countries have pledged them. Apparently, these other countries might have not fulfilled these promises.
Yeah, the Dutch are a major operator. They say they're waiting on a replacement before they send theirs. And then there's other operators in Europe that can send them. So the challenge is who's going to send them first, and then the decisions to make. Are we going to reprioritize some weapons? For example, the one we sent, the battery we sent a few months ago, was one based in Poland, protecting U.S. and coalition troops down near in Poland. Let's just leave it there. So there's the U.S. Patriot system, or U.S. Patriot inventory has been short for 2 decades. They were heavily employed along the Turkish border during various points of the last 20 years during the counterinsurgency wars to defend Turkey. The U.S. has had to spread them wherever they're needed in the Middle East, in the South Korean peninsula, and various places in the world. And the U.S. is trying to build more capability just for our own capabilities. We have at this point 14 battalions. That sounds like a lot, but it's not when you think about our global commitment. So we can't just transfer ones that are at home over to Ukraine and without risking our own defenses if we have to go to war somewhere else. So that's a challenge for us. Shortage of Patriots globally, and the commitments made need to be fulfilled ASAP.
So General Kraszewski, now this seems to explain the common complaint that people read an article, say on Wikipedia, and say, oh, the US has so many Patriot systems, why doesn't it actually send them in? So if there is a global shortage, do you think that the industrial capability of Western countries will actually be enhanced in the next couple of years to make up for this gap? Not only with Patriots, but also other systems like the IRIS-T or the NASAMS?
It's a very good question, and it's a very good topic to discuss, and probably we will need a couple of hours with Ray to touch each detail and each issue related to air defense. But we have to remember that air defense is one of the crucial, in my opinion, the most important system during the modern warfighting. And if you have the multi-layer air defense, you are safe and you can conduct a lot of operations. Mostly the modern warfighting begins with the airstrikes conducted by the different assets, including the combat jets, including the UAVs, drones, Navy guns, and so on and so forth. This is why the air defense is so important. Regarding the Patriot issue, I'm all the time at the position that it doesn't matter how many launchers you have. It matters how many missiles you have. If you don't have any missiles ready to be launched, the launchers are like toys on the battlefield, useless. This is why Ukrainians, we have to talk with the Western about the deliveries, immediate deliveries of the missiles to be capable to fight against the Russian air targets. Of course, if somebody has declared that, okay, we will deliver, it has to be done. I fully agree with Ray that NATO and the US, they have to think about relocation, transferring, and redeployment of other assets to fill up the gaps in Europe. Europe is under the threat of the Russian Federation, and it's obvious. And of course, the last point you have touched, the capabilities of the U.S. defense industry and the European defense industries. It's another issue. I think that I'm more than sure that the U.S. defense industry, those factories manufacturing the Patriot system, including the launchers and missiles, are overloaded with the orders coming from different states around the globe. This is why the relocation process of European users of Patriot systems is a bit slower, and it's slowing down again because of the threats and because of decisions upcoming. And to have a gap filler, Ukrainians, they have to think about the different assets. I know that not each asset is capable to fight against, especially hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, and combat jets. But to build up the multi-layer air defense umbrella around the Ukrainian territory, it should be the first priority for Ukrainians. And if there is no possibility right now for the quick delivery of a Patriot system, Ukrainians, together with United Europe, with the States, we all have to think about a substitution. And if there is the way to immediate deliver of substitution assets to strengthen the Ukrainian air defense, we have to do it. And concurrently, we have to think how to increase the capabilities of industries, military industries in the US and Europe, to be capable to manufacture and deliver and implement air defense assets to NATO countries in Europe.
So, Colonel Wojcik, if we're facing a shortage, how about a workaround? If the enemy cannot fire any missiles, you don't really need air defense to protect against them. Do you think that now the West will once again be forced to reconsider its self-restraint, perhaps allowing Ukraine to eliminate Russian airfields, launch sites? I mean, this would basically make it more difficult for Russia to sustain these missile barrages directed against Ukraine. The ISW recently published a map, and there's basically just dozens of sites that could be eliminated if Ukraine was allowed to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a crazy, is my perspective, position we've taken, and still holding this position, to restrict Ukraine from cross-border attacks with the longer range systems we provided, for example, the long-range ATACMS. So, for example, on 26 August, those approximately 100 Shahad drones that were mixed with the missile attack, the largest attack since the beginning of the war, all those bases could have been targeted ahead of time. So you've got to go to the solution on air defense is multifaceted, like the general mentioned, but it's also going to the source, taking out these assets before they can be fired on. And besides doing that, that would be a game changer, I think, in the air defense war. So while we're trying to fill the gaps, we need to allow the Ukrainians to go after the source, the airfields, and as you said, the other places that they store the Shaheds and the other missiles. At the same time, there's other medium-range or Patriot-like assets in Europe. For example, the SAMT, which MBDA, the French and the Italians produce. There's discussions, and I think there's been even possible transfers so far. I don't know the level of those, but that's another large capability that could be transferred quickly to Ukraine to augment their air defense. There's no way you could seamlessly cover the whole front of Ukraine. You have to focus in certain areas, but we need to both enhance their air defense capability and then also enhance their ability to destroy the weapons that are targeting them.
And also, there are the S-400 systems in Turkey just gathering dust and perhaps dangling the F-35 program before Mr. Erdogan once again could do the trick, but that is another story altogether. Colonel Wojcik and General Jarosław Kraszewski were our guests today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm Joanna Śrewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news and updates.